Conducting surveillance in many situations is complicated and can be very tricky, to say the least, in every investigation. Once we start, takes on a life of its own. I cringe when I answer my phone and the first thing out of the client's mouth is something like, "Hi John, I'm needing some surveillance on my ex. He isn't paying any child support. We know he's working. This should be a fairly easy job. How much would you charge to do surveillance?" First thing to note here, folks, when the customer says, "This should be easy, this should be simple, this one is a no-brainer," then trust me, it will not be easy, it will not be simple, nor a no-brainer. When you hear these things from your client, you need to ask for all of the details involved in the case. These details should be things like, where does he live? Where do you think he might be working? What makes you think he's working? What hours do you think he's working? When does he have the kids? What are his living arrangements? Is he living with somebody else? Do you think he works Monday through Friday or some other time? What does he drive? How does he drive? Are there any restraining or protection orders against him, you, or anybody else regarding this matter? Does he have an attorney? Do you have an attorney? What would your attorney like us to do? This video is sponsored by OREP Insurance and Working PI Magazine. OREP is a leading provider of private investigator liability insurance. Visit orep.org for a quote today. And folks, that list of qualifying questions goes on and on. You need to ask the client a lot of questions and listen to them, and then ask more questions. Once you have gotten the client to answer all of those questions, they may start to see that the case is not quite as simple as that they were hoping for. Once you have compiled all of the information that you need, then you can start to set the expectations with the client. Sometimes you just need to be brutally honest and let them know what might happen on surveillance, besides just getting them the evidence that they want. The customer needs to understand that you might lose your subject while following him. No surveillance is perfect, and it is very easy to lose people during rush hour due to heavy traffic, construction, accidents, and other detours. As well, it is easy to lose somebody when traffic is slow because you need to be more cautious and follow at a distance to ensure that you are not burned during the follow. Getting burned on a case would jeopardize the entire investigation for them. Then if you follow them somewhere, it does not necessarily mean they are working there. I always recommend to work 2 to 3 days to show a pattern for the subject's activity. If he goes to the same place every morning at 7:30 a.m., he most likely is working there and cannot deny it, saying he was just meeting a friend there. This type of evidence will empower the client's attorney a great deal to get subpoenas for records in place and garnishment documents from the court if that is the route that the attorney wants to take. Multiple days is also often necessary because he may not go to work the first day you work it. He could be sick. It could be his day off. There could be a family emergency or any other reason for him not to go to work. So having multiple days scheduled is always best. Multiple days also helps you establish his MO. When does he get up? When does he leave? How does he drive? What route does he take? And other pieces of crucial information that will help you follow him successfully. When it comes to other types of surveillance like infidelity or maybe child custody, for instance, the customer needs to also know that there are huge limitations there as well. If the subject is followed to her ex-boyfriend's house one time, it is defensible by her just saying something like, "You know what, he was having a tough time. I just went there to talk to him. I haven't seen him for years." But if she is followed there every Tuesday after work and she stays there until after dinner time, well, now you have set a pattern of activity. The same would also go if the person is followed to a liquor store. One time does not necessarily establish a pattern of alcohol abuse. But if he stops at the liquor store every night, 3 nights in a row, or is captured on video drinking on the front porch every night, now you are starting to establish that pattern of activity. Then there are client expectations that you can find out what is going on inside a residence. In most cases, we simply cannot do this. We aren't peeping Toms. We can't go sneaking around, peering into windows, trying to see who's in there and what they are doing. Leave that up to the Hollywood PIs. Doing this could violate many laws such as trespassing, invasion of privacy, and even harassment or stalking if caught. Even if you can see it through a window from the street, you may not be able to obtain video or photographic evidence of the activities depending on state laws. For instance, here in Colorado, we cannot shoot video or take photos through a residential window. We can document in our report what we saw, but then that has limitations as well. Setting the expectations for the client of what you can do is very important. I don't suggest to spend a lot of time telling them what you cannot do. Too much negative talk may discourage the client. It is necessary to discuss some of those things, but telling them what you can do will prove to be more productive. Mr. Client, we can definitely help you with that surveillance. From my experience, sir, it is much more helpful for cases like yours if we conduct 2 to 3 days of surveillance. Doing this many times allows us to gather enough evidence, usually to show a pattern of activity. I would hate for you to get to court and then she just says she was having a tough day that day. She never drinks, but that one day she needed to stop in and talk to a friend who just happened to be working at the liquor store. Mr. Client, we can get started on this for you this weekend with a retainer of X dollars to cover 3 evenings of surveillance, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Now that you've closed the sale, then you can work on setting other expectations. A lot of these may be set in your contract, but it is good to verbally let the client know these as well. The client needs to understand that you cannot guarantee the outcome of the investigation. You will work to the best of your ability, but there is no way that you can guarantee that you will get the video needed, the money shot, or absolute proof. You also need to make sure they understand that any video or photo evidence that you gather has no guarantee as to the quality. This is not Hollywood. You have no control over the situation, and video may be minimal. It could be blurry, or you could just not get any video at all, but you will document everything that you see. As for documenting everything, the client needs to know when that will occur. When can they expect updates and reports? This should also be in your contract. But even then, you should verbally make sure that the client understands these things. I know it's tough, folks, to have those tough discussions with your clients, but believe me, setting the expectations up front will save you a lot of headaches later down the road. And if the client decides that they don't like your options, then it may be best if they do not contract with you and you can move on to the next client who understands the limitations involved. Those clients who cannot accept those limitations, cannot see realistic expectations, are the clients that will cause you the most problems during and after the investigation. Thank you for my PI Guy Premium supporters, Eric Hutchinson, 31 months of dedicated support. Eric Lewis, 21 months of support, and A is A Investigations, 5 months as a PI Guy Premium supporter. If you would like more information on how to support the PI Guy, then click the join button down below.